All right, folks, take two. Welcome to Seattle Public Utilities Ask Evelyn Live, where we answer your questions about recycling, compost, garbage, and other trashy topics. I'm your host, Becca Fong, and this week, School Daze. Getting ready for back to school with less stuff. So this month, we're focusing on sustainable consumption, and with back to school already here, we are going to talk about how to get ready without leaving a huge environmental footprint. So Pat is on vacation again this week, and we are joined by a very special co-host. You may remember her from our compost month. Kate Kurtz is going to be joining us. So let me get her logged on right now. Looks like I'm sending Kate messages instead. All right, folks. We are going to get her logged on here in just a second. Hi, Kate.
Hi, Becca.
I was apparently sending you messages instead of requesting you to join me. So there's some messages coming at you.
All right, I'll check them later.
But thank you so much for joining us. For folks who don't remember you from the compost episode, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Kate Kurtz, and I work on issues related to compost and sustainable landscaping for Seattle Public Utilities.
I'm so glad that you could join us while Pat is on a much needed vacation this week. And really excited because you, like me, have school-age children and we are getting back to school.
Yep.
So, this week's question is kind of all about that. So this question comes from Dina this week. So last year, when my kids went to school in person, they were not allowed to bring snacks from home that were not individually packed, store-bought packaging.
Yeah. Like
chips and crackers and bags, stuff like that. And I know it was for COVID safety, but it seemed very wasteful. Mm-hmm. Is any of this snack packaging recyclable? And any other tips you can give us for making back to school process a little less wasteful would be appreciated. Thanks. So what's our quick answer for Dina about packaging and a couple of tips?
So generally when it comes to like snack packaging, I brought this little example today. It's not recyclable. This is garbage. So generally it's like flimsy and it's really loud. Those should be some clues. It's just got to go in the garbage. That's the best spot for it.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I think for some quick tips, we can kind of get into the details now. So you're right. I mean, this flexible packaging, and Pat and I talk about this all the time. Those of you that watch it, something being recyclable in your bin, it has to be sortable and there has to be a market. And it is too flimsy, too small. It does not get sorted through the machinery, and the plastic is really low quality. So it really doesn't hit either of those two marks.
Yeah.
But I think we both have to acknowledge that, it definitely was due to COVID safety, I think last year, like Dina said, and we don't know very much about that. So I think it made sense, but there are, I think, we do know a little bit more now. But I don't know, what are you thinking for tips for Dina for next year?
Well, I know that at my kids' schools that they are allowed to bring just like a regular lunch.
Okay.
So I don't know, like I would just go with whatever the school says to do, right? Like health department school, like I will follow your instructions.
Totally.
But for my kids, I will show you their lunchbox that I use and love because I love it so much.
Absolutely.
And that's that we use this stainless steel one. Both my boys have this style. And I will say that we had a lot of plastic versions before, and they're just rough on their stuff. And it would like the plastic would crack, and then that would become garbage.
Yeah.
And then I'd have to buy a new one. And so I invested a little bit more into the stainless steel style, and there are several brands that make them. And they've lasted years. And now I'm even like, do I need one of these for myself? They're just nice. They have all these little compartments because my kids like their food separate,
Totally. The fact that you said years
kids
is amazing, right?
Yes.
Like, so buying something that's durable and high quality is fantastic. I mean, I totally brought my kids' lunchbox. So we got this one at the Goodwill a couple of years ago. It was brand new. It still had the tags on it. And, this child can be a little bit rough on things and maybe might be prone to forgetting things. So we went with just kind of the containers we had at home, and I put them in here, so they are reusable. I put them in here so they fit perfectly, so you can kind of see like if something was missing. And that works pretty well. You know, if as long as we get a couple more uses out of it than a single packaging, I figure we're probably okay. So
Nice. Yeah. Becca, another thing that I do, similar to what you're doing, is that often my kids, like, they'll have their lunch, but then they also need an after school snack, like if they're doing another activity or something.
totally.
And that's when kind of like the lightweight, like Tupperware type stuff that we have at home. So I have like this system, and yeah, it's like super lightweight, and then I can just throw in like whatever it is that we're using for their snack. And then this is also like my fridge is full of this stuff too. So it has dual purpose. Yeah, which I really love, because my kitchen is not big enough for separate systems for all of this stuff.
No. And we're all about, you know, getting as many uses out of stuff as possible. So that's definitely a big thing. I mean, lunches are a huge deal. I mean, we're packing them every day, and you want to make sure that, you know, I think every kid likes their food separate, don't they?
I mean, mine do.
I think it's a thing. So I think that there are definitely ways to do that. It definitely makes me think for other back to school stuff that, you know, Dina was kind of asking about other ways to minimize waste, because you just go out and you're just inundated with all these opportunities to buy stuff. Right. Yeah. And I think this year more than ever, with kids having been away from school, it's a big deal. It's really exciting, and it should be exciting. You know, how do we kind of like, what are some good tips and tricks you've done for like backpacks, clothes, supplies? Like, I feel like all of that stuff is being pushed at us like brand new, buy all this stuff. So what are some tips that you have?
Totally. Well, one thing is that, like, I don't do back to school shopping. Like, I buy clothes as my kids actually need those clothes, rather than just getting them like fresh stuff each fall. But I will share an experience that we had. So when my older son started kindergarten, somebody gave him a gift of a backpack, and it was cool. I had a superhero and stuff on it, but it was cheaply made. It was the cheap backpack. And that thing was blown out within the school year, right? Like, it lasted a few months, and then it was just done, and it was sad. So we replaced it. I brought it. I confiscated it. He doesn't know that I'm down in my home office with it. But we replaced it with this like higher quality backpack, and he's now been using this for several years. He uses it for school, for summer camp. We even went on a little backpacking trip last summer, and he just carried this backpack with him. And it's like good as new. He'll be using it this year and hopefully many more years in the future. So I think that's also just kind of that same story of just like putting a little bit more up front, but then it being so much more cost effective and environmentally friendly over the long term, because then you're not having to replace.
Absolutely. I think I do that a lot with clothes. It's like kids grow at crazy rates. And, you know, one thing that I've been very fortunate about is that in my community, I have an opportunity to do clothing swaps, because our kids are all different sizes and different ages. And that's been really fantastic. Right. And then folks will know, like, I just got a huge tub of clothes for my little one because, you know, some other kids in the neighborhood are like, oh, we were holding on to these because they're a couple years older and they thought that was great. And my kid loves them. You know, he just loves that they belong to these other kids in the neighborhood. And that's one way to do that. If you have that kind of community, you can also do it on Buy Nothing. People are exchanging stuff all the time. But I've certainly gone thrifting as well to get some new stuff. But, you know, again, if I am going to invest, I think, you know, you're right on. It's like, buy something that's going to last.
Yeah.
You know, even for kids, they're growing. Yeah. But you want it to last. You don't want it to like be the superhero backpack that falls apart. We had a unicorn one just like that. The strap fell off, and then it's like just a mess. Right.
Yeah. I agree with you. You know, when it comes to rain gear for my kids in Seattle, I don't mess around.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm going to get something new, I'm getting high quality because I want them to be dry and warm and comfortable. But those are things that really can last. And so I do circulate those things also in my community, in my neighborhood Buy Nothing group. You know, I've both received and gifted so many items for kids that are just, I mean, we gotta keep our kids dry and warm in Seattle.
Absolutely. And I think, you know, this fall for sure, just having them be outside as much as possible, definitely a huge plus.
Totally.
So one last thing that I think about a lot is supplies. So, you know, I mean, you and I are very committed to like buying used things, buying sustainable goods, buying high quality stuff. School supplies, like, as much as I would love to think as you could buy like secondhand things, sometimes that's just really hard. Totally. So I mean, I know that there are different ways. There's a lot of back to school lists, but what are some of the things that you've encountered when shopping for back to school supplies for your kids?
Yeah, so first of all, I defer to the teachers, right? Like they are experts, they need to run their classrooms. Thank you, teachers. I get exactly what they say that they want. But I will say in my son's school in kindergarten, it was like each teacher had their supply list, like each family bring in these things.
Right.
And then the next year, we actually got that organized through the PTA so that the families were able to like give money and then the PTA was
Nice.
able to order in bulk. And that saved with like packaging, shipping costs, and then just the overall economic cost to be
Right.
able to just get that bulk order in. And then the teachers were still getting exactly what they wanted.
Totally. And
Yeah.
actually we had a similar experience too, where I was, being like, oh my God, all of us in the neighborhood need to make a trip to the store or order something online. Like this seems ridiculous.
Yeah.
And our PTA actually did a very similar thing. I think for those of you who are out there who are getting ready and getting those return to school lists, I think talk to your PTA. I think the teachers would be super happy because teachers, they got enough going on. They would rather just have the stuff that they need and have it arrive when they know it's going to arrive, and not rely on like 6-year-olds to make sure that they bring their supplies on the relative, because that is a system that is bound to fail.
Yeah.
So definitely talk to your PTA or at least your teachers and your grade band and see if you can help. I think even for older grades, there's still supplies that are needed. It also creates a really great way for families that cannot afford all of those supplies.
Yeah.
Other families can chip in, which is fantastic, right? And then everybody just has what they need, and it's, it's perfect. Everybody's ready to go. You don't have to get hung up on the supply needs. So
Yeah.
I think that's a really good tip. Buy in bulk, people. We're always talking about that too. You can buy it in bulk. You're going to save money and save all of those costs, Kate, like you were just talking about, transportation, packaging, all that stuff that is a big nightmare that we get questions from all of you guys about every week, and keep those coming. We will always answer those questions. So, all right. Well, that is a lot of back to school stuff. And, please keep your questions coming. And for those of you who are deep in this mode, like Kate and I are, we are with you, and hang in there. And just as a quick recap, buy durable goods. If you're going to buy new, buy them to last. If you can swap or trade or buy new to you, do through thrifting, through buy, sell, trade groups, however that works, please try to do that option. And then, if you are going to buy new, buy in bulk, or, get something that is passed down to you. So that would be really the best way to have the least environmental footprint when you're doing this back to school shopping. So
Yeah.
awesome. We have one reminder too, is that the Rethink Waste grant that we do in partnership with Waste Management is still open. It is open until the end of the week. And these are fantastic grants that are just kind of like seed money, that little idea that you have in your mind, maybe for your school, maybe for your neighborhood, where you'd like to reduce waste. You'd like to figure out maybe setting up a clothing swap or a back to school supply exchange. We can help you out. Submit an application to us. We're going to put a link in the show notes, and we can give you some seed money. We're giving away money between $500 and $5,000. You could do a lot with that. And we would love to hear from you and love to support you. So we'll definitely put those links in and send us an application. It would be fantastic. So, all right,
Awesome.
folks. Kate, thank you so much for joining me.
I'm so happy to be here with you today, Becca. It's so fun.
I know. We're definitely going to have you back again very soon. So, and you've got some really good tips. So I love those little stainless steel food containers. Again,
they don't break.
The fact that they don't break, and you said years with small children. I'm listening. I'm in. All right, folks. Well, that's another episode of Ask Evelyn. Thank you guys so much. This show is run on your questions. Please keep them coming. We love to hear from you. And make sure you can hit us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or you can send us an email at askevelyn@seattle.gov. And we'll see you next week, Wednesday at 1:30. And all right, folks, I'm Becca Fong. And remember, life's simpler with less stuff. All right.
Bye, guys. Bye, Becca.